Well, what do you know? Finally making use of the new studio set, right? The audio might not be that great in here, and it's still because we're working on flooring, but the looks and logistics are done. Everything's practically moved in. Just gotta get flooring, which is currently done by these crappy foam pads on the floor. Other than that, acoustics are terrible. Shut up, Freezer. Dear Apple, I am very confused. What do you want the iPad to be now? As you can tell, this is a bit of a rant, sort of, and keep in mind, I love Apple products. I bought this for a reason. I don't hate Apple in any way, except for the prices, but this is a spot where I am just genuinely flat out confused. Recently, with the launch of Apple's latest iPad Pro, you know, the one with the LiDAR scanner and the ultra-wide lens, the A12Z chip, which is essentially a rebranded A12X chip. Not that big of an upgrade, right? But also, alongside the launch of this, came with a Magic Keyboard with trackpad. I don't know if you guys have seen this part yet, or my video on tablets make terrible laptops. If you haven't, do me a favor and go click the link up here. Hello? Card, where are you? Thank you. To check out my video on why tablets are not laptops, and never will be. So, with that standing by, and Apple adding mouse support for the iPad now, of course I'm going to put out some rants. And this is the part where I'm confused. You've marketed it for so long that this is not a computer. But why are you trying to turn it into one? This is what I'm confused about. Not only have they been bringing mouse support to the iPad, but now they're also bringing the Pro apps. What I mean by that is like Final Cut, Logic, pretty much any Pro application you pay for. Why? We have MacBooks for this reason. It is to handle those heavier, intense loads. And, well, yeah, the A12X is more powerful than the Intel i9 or whatever, or my crappy i5 in this case. I can admit that the A12X is more powerful. But what about all the other limitations of the hardware? First of all, it's a super thin device. It's even thinner than Apple's MacBooks. And MacBooks still have thermal problems. This is going to be a huge problem with the iPad Pro. Thermal problems. Simply because it's got to get rid of that heat somehow, and despite it being thin, it's going to heat up quickly. The other problem is RAM. These programs are designed to run on 8 gigabytes minimum. How in the world are they going to be able to optimize it for 6 gigabytes? Because that's not really that much. My phone doesn't even have 6 gigabytes, and yet it still has some performance problems. This thing doesn't even have 6 gigabytes. And it does have some issues when I put super heavy intensive apps on. Why are they trying to do this? It's just, they're essentially turning iPad OS into a combination of iOS and macOS, when in reality, it doesn't make sense. The tablet market is different from the laptop market. Take advantage of the touchscreen. You don't need to put in these extra ways to control it and then the actual Pro software to do it. No, it's a tablet. Tablet is a completely different market than laptop. And the purposes of a tablet are completely different than of a laptop. A laptop is supposed to be a portable version of a desktop to get your work done, the most heavy intensive apps possible. An iPad pretty much is a media consumption device, a gaming device more particularly as well. And in general, it's meant for those creators who need something to draw on. The reason why the tablet market exists is for the touchscreen interface. But a touchscreen interface isn't exactly designed nor optimized for these pro apps, simply because you need to be precise. There's a reason why these are pro apps. It's for precision. precise stuff. And touchscreens, well, if you have the Apple Pencil, then that's a different story. But your finger, that's not precise at all. So why? I just don't understand. And even when Apple does it, there's going to be some dumbed down version of Final Cut and Logic, because they have to optimize it for your fingers. This doesn't make sense. So what is Apple doing with the iPad now? I personally don't know. I would buy an iPad Pro to use as a media consumption device and a drawing tool, despite how terrible I am when it comes to pictures. But when it comes to my video editing and audio production, I'm going to stick with the MacBook if I need a portable device. So why must you buy an iPad? Sure, it can do these things, but when you're trying to get to the professional grade area, that's where you want a laptop. That's where you want a MacBook, not an iPad. It can do it, but it's never going to beat the laptop when it comes to precision. That's just facts. Random Alpha, signing out.